certainly one of the players who always makes it to the top table. And he knows that he has destiny on his side. He's hoping to go one further at the World Championships. Riley standing in his way one more time.
Well, Riley definitely going to have confidence off the back of NAIC. And a performance that has given them a name in the scene, and 2 Monkey Dory on that side. But the secret box, the ace spec, you can only play 1 ace spec in your deck, and there it is in the prize card for Isaiah.
That's going to make the likes of Arvin a far worse option for Isaiah in the opening few turns, because the secret box is an enabler for all sorts. It allows you to have discard synergy for your psychic energy, which is vital for any Gardevoird EX player. But at the same time, it grants you access to all sorts of cards. A tool, a supporter, a stadium, and an item allows you to fix basically any hand that you have. So not having early access to the secret box could be problematic. For Riley, the couple Monkey Dory, there are 4 copies within his deck, so he still will have access to a couple of them, but the more the merrier with this Pokemon.
Yeah, I remember when 2 was a stretch for Monkey Dory as an inclusion, and then it went to 3, and now 4 seems to be close to the norm. 3 or 4 monkeys are available as these players kick things off in round 2 of Anaheim World Championship. Isaiah versus Riley for the run back, and it's going to be Riley kicking things off.
See the draw for turn, and he's also leading out with a Flutter main here. That Midnight Fluttering ability, shutting down abilities in the active position for the opponent when the Flutter main is in the active position. You also see a turn 1 Nestball here, so Riley immediately going to look through the deck, check out his prize cards, the couple Monkey Dory probably being the biggest alarm bell for him. He's also going to be able to have access to an early Rolls if not already in his hand. The deck really gets ticking, Mike, when you start a couple of things in the deck. Firstly, you want to find access to your Gardevoird EX. The Psychic Embrace is the lifeblood of the deck, which means you also need to start discarding Psychic Energy as you go. As you tick along, searching through to get your Stage 2s developed, to get your prominent attackers set up, you also want to be pitching these Psychic Energy so that you can access them whenever you like via your Gardevoird EX.
Well, that route's going down, and just a continued deck check here, confirming all those cards. And I think what's interesting with that Flutter main in the active, it was a card that when it came out was popular as an inclusion to disrupt in the active, but since then other disruption options like Budu have become more popular. Why are we seeing Flutter main come back into this Gardevoird deck?
There's a few reasons. Obviously the Midnight Fluttering can frustrate a few opponents. There are some crucial abilities that you would like to shut down. Golden Go might be one of those, and there's some acknowledgement there. You can try and shut down even a Genesect. Shutting that down in the right instance would be devastating for a Golden Go EX player. But of course the Hexel also helps against with devolution strategies. When you're facing these other evolution decks, we know that Gardevoird is very capable at setting up multiple Pokemon, especially with Monkey Dory, and the 90 damage to the active +2 counter placement is so flexible in the deck that it can allow you to have the strategy of TM devolution, and I think both players are opting to have it within their deck list. So the Flutter main is a really versatile option.
Yeah, and some people mentioning Clef Key is a great option to include, as it shuts down the abilities of all basics, but it also shuts down your own basics, like your Monkey Dory, whereas that Flutter main only shutting down the active, but it shuts down all Pokemon in the active, which is a great opportunity to deny opportunities. And one of those would, in fact, be the Jellicent, you know, and that would deny that as an option, as well as lots of great gusting options. You can gust things up like Latias EX, where decks always rely on the Skyliner ability to allow them to retreat. Flutter main is a way to gain back a turn into those decks, which might struggle otherwise. So high-level plays will be opened up for Riley throughout the tournament with that inclusion, but getting that fundamental Rolts down on the first turn, as well as a Monkey Dory with a Dark Energy attach, setting up that Monkey Dory battle that you like to see of as many Dark Energies as possible. And it's thanks to that Artisan, which unfortunately has been provided to Isaiah in return.
Yeah, that's actually a big deal for Isaiah, because it may instruct his use of supporter. If he had access to the likes of Arvin and a different supporter, now he can gain access to Artisan and realize that, oh, secret box is in the prize card, so I won't go that direction, I'll go somewhere else. And as we know, Isaiah is always diligent at checking out those prize cards, so he's going to be doing that quite routinely here.
Actually had an Artisan in hand, so it wasn't as a disruptive a scenario as possible to hold that Artisan, but I think that's the key with Artisan. Many people are worried about giving away information to your opponent or giving them the opportunity to place their own non-rulebox Pokemon down, but a lot of the time, if you set up, you're confident your deck is going to win. On this occasion, Riley, confident that if he gets that Monkey Dory and the Rolts down on that first turn, that's going to put him in the best position to set up a game-winning board.
Oftentimes it is going to be a case of whoever has more Monkey Dory with more Dark Energy attached is typically going to be in a better board position, to be honest with you. It grants access to more healing, as well as just more access to taking out crucial threats. So keeping up on the Dark Energy attachments for the turn, in addition to the Psychic Embrace attachments, is going to be one of the things we have to follow during this game. We see the Frillish come down straight away from Isaiah. No energy attachment whatsoever, but it is threatening the potential to Oceanic Bloom and evolve up into a Jellicent EX as well. Item lock is really important in this matchup, Mike, because these are rare candy-based Stage 2s.
Was interesting because you look on the other side and there was 3 Dark Energy in that opening hand, which is great in many scenarios, but it also means there's not those Psychic Energies to discard. And I had to discard a Dark Energy and go for that Mew EX because that hand is so poor at this stage, as well as the Bravery Charm and Dark Energy in hand will be just looking to draw out of this with that restart ability.
And even just seeing the Frillish straight away means there's more urgency around this, Mike. There could have been situations where Riley was happy to just Arsenal out another Bolts and just hold the Ultra Ball for Serendipity as an option. But in this case, seeing a Frillish knowing that you could lose access to items means we have to go a little bit faster. We're going to Bravery Charm up our Mew EX here and see a fresh 3 cards. It's Ultra Ball double Psychic. Is that right? Looks like a pretty good hand, to be honest. You want to start pitching these energy while you can. You could grab a Curlier immediately here. Going down to 0 cards in hand, but your Mew EX is looking a lot safer thanks to the Bravery Charm.
There we go, the Curlier.
Yeah, right. So access to the Artisan, so you have the backup Rolts just in case your opponent gets really fruity with early gusting plays. There have been Boss's Orders, of course. Isaiah chose to play a single copy of Boss's Orders in his NAIC list. There's also always the threat of Screamtail that can access the bench, so getting multiple targets on the board developed is important. Actually retreating out of Flutter main here to go into Mew, into the pass.
Wow, well, Isaiah didn't do much on that first turn. Set up all the Pokemon, but no supporter was used, no energy was attached. So you're going to be pretty confident that that hand isn't doing much. Even if there's a Gardevoird in there, it's not much use because you need to start discarding those energy. And without a supporter, without energy cards, there's probably not much in the way Isaiah can do here unless a top deck allows for a fresh set of cards, either through the Iono or research, which is so key. That's going to be a pass there back to Riley, who's looking to race ahead now with that restart, drawing 2 cards straight away.
Couple item cards. Looks like there's Iono in the hand. That would give your opponent access to a fresh 6. Could be a big risk here, but you won't have any draw power from you next turn because you've got clogged up with items yourself. Can use Night Stretcher, maybe develop another Monkey Dory if you would like. Not much else you can do here, though. Both players kind of on fumes. It's going to be a fresh 6 from Riley here, so both players have the sigh of relief of seeing access to new cards. It does mean that Riley has the priority this turn. He could begin launching meaningful attacks, but it is still a big relief for Isaiah here.
Yeah, with that Night Stretcher being such a powerful resource in the deck, only 2 copies in Riley's deck, and with 4 research, which is going to be your frequent way to dig through the deck, you're often going to be discarding vital resources as you go, and if a knockout happens on an important attacker, you want to be able to return that back into your hand. So Riley opting to keep that rather than utilize it on this occasion for the Dark Energy.
Ultra Ball means Gardevoird EX will be established this turn for Riley, who's slow-volved up to find this stage 2, and there are a few Psychic already in the discard pile for him. I'm not sure if he quite has access enough to launch a Hex Hurl option. Also eyeing up potentially Screen Tail from the Artisan here. You try and take out a Frillish or a Ralts if you would like. There's always a bit of cat and mouse going on in this matchup where a lot of your low hit point Pokemon self-damage, and that could open the door for Adrenabrain from your opponent to punish you. So trying to still make meaningful math happen without over-damaging these Pokemon is still really vital.
With that Artisan in play for the rest of the game, both players playing Artisan, no way to bump it. It will just be accessible to be able to put any of your non-rulebox Pokemon into play at any given moment. So something like a Scream Tail, you don't need to worry about getting it down early. You just get it down when you need it. And that's a very powerful position to be in. I'm just looking to set up that Monkey Dory, and we'll be able to move the damage across and take the knockout on the Ralts. And that's a great position to be in.
We're flinging 1 damage counter over with the Adrenabrain. Then we're going to finish off the Ralts via the Mind Bend. We are taking the first prize of the game here. But we are putting our Monkey Dory in a vulnerable position. You've just given Isaiah a fresh 6 cards, so even though he's had a few slow turns, that may no longer be the case. And we really, you know, with a couple prize Monkey Dory especially, the fact that you could be losing one with a Dark Energy is a risk here, Mike. There was the option of Scream Tail, but Riley chose to go this direction instead, keeping his board space for more options.
Yeah, playing the 4 Monkey Dory, 4 Dark Energy, very much leaning into the Monkey Dory, but you can see there that hand not ideal, no way to discard the energy, does have 2 Gardevoird there, and Ionoing them back to the bottom of the deck. That is not going to make it easy to get Gardevoird out this turn, so we likely will just see an Oceanic Gloom from the Frillish to try and slow down Riley.
It does set up a potential TM Evolution if that's found as well, which is taken off the top. Now you can evolve into Curlier and TM Evolution up into a Gardevoird EX.
Yeah, that's going to be an option. Then at that point, you're giving Riley so much time, and is it more important to just get the Gardevoird going? This is a really tough position Isaiah's found himself in. No energy discarded at this point too, so going to be really looking to stabilize and come back from behind.
No Oceanic Gloom isn't doing much in the way of damage because there's already Adrenabrain developed. We're going to quickly tap the Artisan here to gain access to an additional basic Pokemon. The game plan is quite different for a build with Frillish and Jellicent EX because you're still trying to work towards a TM Evolution play at times, but also the Jellicent EX can deny lots of items during the game. Counter Catcher being a vital one, Rare Candy being a vital one, meaning that if you take out 1 Gardevoird, 1 Ralts on the bench isn't sufficient. It has to be a Curlier already developed. And of course, there's still the mini-game of more Monkey Dory is better, and that's why Isaiah now is going to ask him for a second one.
You had the challenge there of trying to establish another Gardevoird line, but by putting 2 vulnerable Pokemon in play, I think earlier in the Frillish, it could potentially lead to some issues, but having the Monkey Dories available there would be ideal in future turns to set up those Dark Energy. But without 1 attachment this turn, it feels like that Monkey Dory is just now on the bench without an option available. So yeah, I think a really tough decision for Isaiah here.
With no backup Ralts, I was pretty certain to see the TM Evolution. It means we can get Gardevoird EX and access to our Jellicent EX as well on the bench now.
Yeah.
Its ability is only active when itself is in the active position, but it does shut down the use of items and tool cards. Very disruptive option in the deck. Power Press is a decent attack. It can reach 160 damage if there are 4 or more energy attached to the Jellicent, and that can happen all in the turn with Gardevoird, but Isaiah has really lacked any access to Darkness Energy. He's had to manually attach the Psychic so far and has none in his discard pile. He's still working from behind right now.
Yeah, and you wonder how much that Jellicent in combination with TM Devolution could work in this matchup. Right. I think Riley will have to be thinking about that now, stabilizing the Curlier and then the Gardevoird later on to put yourself in a strong position, as that Jellicent would shut down the Rare Candy route back up to a Gardevoird. And the secret box available to Riley, still in the prize cards for Isaiah, will be able to get out lots of important cards at this stage.
Yep, it's a great card to use Arven for, especially when you can grab a TM Evolution just for fodder here for your 3 discard requirement. There's another one in the hand as well. Riley can easily discard these and have access to all sorts here. Crucially, supporter cards at this stage could be vital. Even getting access to Earthen Vessel and getting more energy thrown around. And get access to another Monkey Dory, that could be huge. That final board space, we saw Riley hesitant to put a Screen Tail down on the previous turn to keep his bench space open.
Well, that first decision of the secret box is I am going to get to Professor's Research. That is the easy decision here. Now I've got to work out the stabilizers and getting more psychic energy discarded, as well as that Artisan that you can just get out of the deck and try and make it as consistent as possible in case of disruption, because that is the typical way a Gardevoird comes back in many matchups, is to use the Iono to disrupt and put your opponent behind and skip a few turns ahead. And if you can thin out all of these cards you don't need, you can make it more likely that you're Iono-proofed. Yeah. And without the draw engine on board, like many decks do have, Gardevoird will typically rely on a setup board that cannot be disrupted.
In this instance, it will be Artisan here after the Earthen Vessel. There's already Darkness Energy in hand, so I wouldn't mind another Monkey Dory hitting the board here. And then the question becomes, does Riley want to protect this active Monkey Dory and go into a Hex Hurl option? I feel like that does make a lot of sense here. You're throwing more damage counters around the board. There has lacked access to energy so far, and Riley's also seeing an additional 7 cards here, so a really good turn, even before he's played a supporter. TM Evolution thrown onto Gardevoird EX just as an option, but it's rarely going to be used here, I think. Let's see the retreat into the Gardevoird EX, also a decent attacker. The damage is immediately being thrown back onto Gardevoird, or perhaps are we going to see a TM Evolution continue to go slowly here? Wow. Riley has the option to research next turn, get a bunch of energy in the discard pile. Yeah, maybe we are going slower here. Just going to throw a couple damage that we put onto Gardevoird EX onto Isaiah's Frillish, and we're just going to evolve up into Curlier. This is recognition, Mike, that we are afraid of TM Evolution, and we're respecting the item lock potential of a Jellicent EX.
Yeah, and with the double Monkey Dory in play, being able to move damage back is definitely on the card. So if you get attacked into by Isaiah, into that Gardevoird EX in the active spot, you're in a very strong position to be able to send that straight back and get even further ahead. So you're asking to be attacked at this point, and that's the key to a lot of these decks like Gardevoird. They don't want to get too far ahead, because that's not really where they work their best. They often like getting a little bit behind. They want to give away that counter-catcher option that many of the Gardevoird decks do play.
Isaiah finally having a turn that you like to see. Researching away a couple Psychic Energy, now can Earthen Vessel to access more Psychic in addition to a Darkness Energy, so he can start to try and keep up on this Monkey Dory race. I wonder if he's going to start trying to pivot out of this Frillish this turn, as the Earthen Vessel does discard a Psychic Energy here. One interesting intricacy here is that the Frillish with a 3 retreat cost does have to damage itself quite heavily if it wants to retreat. There's only a 2-1 line of Jellicent EX right now, so if you want to get into attack with that Pokemon, start setting up with Power Press, you have to quite heavily damage this Frillish, even with a bit of heal from Monkey Dory. Set up more prizes for Riley later down the line, but no doubt we're going to attach the Darkness Energy here for Adrenabrain to be enabled. There's 3 energy, Psychic Energy in the discard pile now for Isaiah. There's the option to swing in with Miracle Force, there's the option to Power Press. And we're just going to stick with the Oceanic Bloom and holding the option of Adrenabrain as well, knowing that if you put it anywhere, your opponent already has 2 to play with, so keep it on the Frillish where you know where it is, rather than give Riley the option to put it anywhere he wants.
An interesting research plus 2 Psychic Energy was sat in that hand, and Isaiah was fully aware of that as it came off the Secret Box and Earthen Vessel previously played, but understanding that item lock after that could be key here. And this is the intricacy of the matchup. That Jellicent, we're seeing it being prioritized by Isaiah, recognizing how powerful that option is, and this is where the difference comes between these 2 decks. They are both playing Gardevoird, but that ability to use Jellicent is a massive difference, and the key to that is the Monkey Dory, which you see on the bench, and the damage has been moved across from those 2 Monkey Dories. It's why they're so important. The abilities have been used for both of them, and a new Monkey Dory promoted, and will be a target for that Gardevoird, putting Riley in a great position ahead by 3 prize cards.
Riley with an amazing board position, 2 Gardevoird EX, now going 3 prize cards ahead after a Miracle Force. Isaiah is in a back foot position, no doubt. Only access to 1 Monkey Dory right now. He still has work trying to get more Psychic Energy in the discard pile. This Ultra Ball is going to help out, though. Potentially another Monkey Dory. There's also Arslan that can grab it for free as well. Isaiah's still going to prioritize the Ultra Ball in this case. This is where we start seeing the Jellicent EX. It's in the active, so Oceanic Curse is live. It means that Riley, as long as this Jellicent EX is in the active position, won't be able to use item cards or tool cards from his hand, and that is still quite disruptive, although Riley has set up his board before all of this lock. Second Dark Energy now coming for Isaiah, and it's going to be Professor's Research, getting a fresh 7 cards here. He's finally starting to get into this game, it looks like, Mike, but it has taken a few prize cards to get here.
Yeah, the double Gardevoird EX in play makes it hard for Isaiah to break down Riley's board, and the Jellicent, yes, it's disruptive, but at this later stage, everything is on board for Gardevoird. You've got the ability built in to your attacker, you've got the options with the Monkey Dories with the 2 Dark Energy. The only thing Riley is lacking is Gust options. You don't typically see Boss's Orders in Gardevoird EX now. It's very much leaning into those counter-catchers. Both of our players on stream right now playing 2 counter-catchers, but that will not be accessible for Riley as he's kind of likely stay ahead for the rest of this game. And so the Jellicent plus Disruption combination, the Monkey Dory sprinkling damage around, very powerful, but is it going to be enough to come back into this game?
Isaiah with 6 damage to play with. Let's stick it. It's like just on the active Gardevoird EX here. And the Power Press is just going to deal 80 damage, not going for the full 160 that it can do. He's going to set up some decent numbers even after a couple of Adrenabrain next turn. But Isaiah does still have access to potentially some sneaky plays. With a 3rd Monkey Dory set up next turn, you could still triple Adrenabrain the other Gardevoird EX that's on the bench for Riley, and then Devo them both all in the turn. That's even if Riley heals the active Gardevoird twice with his Adrenabrain. So Isaiah is still lining up a really strong play here. All he needs next turn is Darkness Energy and Countercatcher, provided Riley can't target anything but the active position for Isaiah. And that's likely, because he's currently locked out of tools and item cards and doesn't play Boss's Orders. And there's no space for Screamtail either. So I actually think Isaiah is setting himself up for a crazy board swing next turn.
Yeah, there's a really intricate end game whenever there's a devolution involved. You see it a lot in Grimmsnarl, able to set up these boards where everything is in range of a devolution. But Gardevoird typically is comfortable with the idea of getting devolved because your attacker remains on board, you can set up a new attacker, but on this occasion, it looks like the active Gardevoird will be healing that damage off all the way down to 8, which would just put it just out of range.
Actually. Yeah. So the math didn't quite line up perfectly for Isaiah to make the double Devo next turn. We're just going to be announcing an attack here. Miracle Force back into this Jellicent EX. It has the chunky 270 hit points, so it is holding on right now. And Riley content with the double Adrenabrain board position. 8 damage counters on the active. Potential for 3 Adrenabrain here. It could be that we're trying to power press through this Gardevoird this turn. Then you're relieving that item lock as well if it goes down. We'll put Riley just a 1 prize card remaining. He should be able to find an easy route to close the game there, even via Screamtail. So things are getting tough for Isaiah now. That 10 damage off a phenomenal line of play.
Yeah, it's the challenge with the TM devolution is finding that damage at the right point throughout the game. And it's just not been possible for Isaiah because missed out on a few early attachments, and that could have been the difference maker, just having another Monkey Dory ability to use. And when you're facing off against another player who's got 2 Monkey Dory, anything you put in play is likely to come straight back at you.
Yeah.
And maybe even just looking at Riley's board, that one damage he opted not to move across earlier could have been the difference maker. So some great high-level plays, but also recognition to Isaiah to spotting out these unusual lines that are incredibly tough to navigate. I think we can now look back at that Riley turn with the TM evolution and really appreciate how key that was to setting up a stable board with double Gardevoird.
It's a nice find from Isaiah, grabbing an earthen vessel, so we'll be able to manually attach a darkness energy here. Now he's at maximum monkey potential here. He plays 3 Monkey Dory in this build. He's had to concede some space for the Jellicent line. It means he can start throwing damage counters around at will. Does he have access to any counter catcher here? I still feel like targeting Monkey Dories is okay for a turn. He can continue to set up damage whilst taking out a Monkey Dory. It limits Riley's options. Riley on a quad monkey build, but of course there's still, I think, at least 1 in the prize cards. There is still 1 in the prizes.
Well, there's also 2 dark in the discard and both Night Stretcher, I believe. So this could be a great opportunity to remove the Monkey Dory. But as you mentioned, is there enough time? Riley just looking to navigate through 2 more knockouts, most likely. 3 prize cards remaining, but a Jellicent EX or a Gardevoird knockout would be a great position. There is even that TM devolution for Riley to think about to remove the Gardevoird EX from play. And that would make it really hard for the Monkey Dories on Isaiah's side to be useful. And you can just see the complexity of this matchup now with the Jellicent EX. It completely changes the way you navigate the board. You have a lot more of these slower turns where you're focusing on spreading the damage while slowing down the opponent.
Clear that the devolution is still in Isaiah's mind, targeting all 9 damage counters onto this Gardevoird EX via the Monkey Dory. But does this active Jellicent just have to punch into Gardevoird here? You can see a 4th energy commitment. That does open up Power Press to deal 160 damage. Still great setup here. And that is going to be it. We're just going to be piling on damage into this Gardevoird EX here.
Wow, and you can see the turns following will be so key for Isaiah. Does have the ability to use devolution even if the Jellicent gets knocked out. And if you're the player with the Gardevoird EX in play and your opponent has none available, you'll be able to continually swing for future turns, potentially even locking out Ralts as they get benched. So very much playing from behind, Isaiah recognizing there is a line with the Jellicent. And this is something he does so well. You see it frequently in these high-pressure matches, navigating unusual routes to victory, coming from behind. And now Riley has to really start thinking about that damage that is threatening the Gardevoirds with the devolution.
Riley's trying to tot up some math here to see what to retreat into. A lot of the options in his hand are not live. Still, the Oceanic Curse is denying his roots. So Riley going to have to settle for 3 fresh cards from Ino here, whilst also disrupting Isaiah. The Psychic Energy found is actually a pretty decent draw, because he is lacking some energy. There's only 1 in the discard pile, I believe, Psychic-wise right now. So he has granted himself access to attack with something else here. It's going to be the Fluttermane receiving a Psychic for the turn attachment. Then we're pivoting out of our Gardevoird EX. Lining up a Hex Hurl. It would be enough to KO the Jellicent EX, of course, before even thinking about your Adrenabrains. It also sets up a different attacker that can at least put pressure on the opponent, even if there were to be a devolution strategy employed by Isaiah next turn. It's not a super threatening attacker. It's not something like a Scream Tail that your opponent's almost forced to respect. But it is still creeping you closer towards winning the game. Of course, Riley only requires 1 prize card to close out the game after taking out this Jellicent this turn.
You can just see the damage being moved onto the active Jellicent, not to try and get it closer to being knocked out, but just to try and remove the damage from play and not leave it on the board for Isaiah, and just sprinkling 1 across 2 Pokemon, making it as hard as possible for that Monkey Dory to move the damage back over onto that Gardevoird EX, which was healed earlier, and 1 prize card remaining for Riley, 6 for Isaiah. If he manages to pull this off, it will be one of the greatest comebacks of this event, and we're only in round 2. I can almost guarantee you that, as we see the devolution is in hand. What's the plan?
Don't see an Ino to go alongside it. That would make life a little easier for him. Does he have access to Serendipity EX himself here to come into play? When your opponent only has 1 prize card remaining, the liability of that 2 prize Pokemon is really gone. We'll start seeing energy being flung around by Isaiah. It's going to be the Arven choice here as a supporter.
Well, he has the advantage that Riley kind of Ionoed himself last turn and only got 3 cards. Does have the Mew EX in play, so the difference between an Iono and the Mew EX draw from a current Iono would be much the same. But it really is going to be getting rid of those options, and that Fluttermane will remain in play, but not a huge amount of damage output for it, but enough to potentially knock out a Monkey Dory. So Riley really going to have to find a way around it, and with the Gardevoird EX being in the active spot doing devolution, this is going to be a fascinating turn to watch.
Isaiah picked Super Rod out from the Arven here as his supporter. Is he trying to weave back in a Frillish after the fact of a devolution? Gardevoird are damaged enough to be put in range after a couple of Adrenabrains here. And he only has to dodge Hex Hurl, 2 damage on the benched Monkey Dory in addition to, well, it would be Monkey Dory plus 3rd Dark Energy that he'd have to be dodging next turn. Or a Scream Tail. Well, yeah, Scream Tail can't come out when there's both Gardevoird EX being taken off the board. Isaiah only vulnerable to the 2 damage counters of Hex Hurl to close the game on a Monkey Dory.
Well, if any damage is left in play as well, you've got to be really careful, because damage can be moved back across in combination with the Fluttermane, and the advantage of the Monkey Dory is 110 HP is quite hefty to be able to sprinkle damage across, and any damage you sprinkle across is coming straight back at you, and this is going to be the setup here. 3 damage moved across twice onto that Gardevoird. You see the last bit of damage moved across. Doesn't want to leave anything in play for Riley. Is going to be using a TM devolution, and now Riley has no way to power up any attackers as Curliers both get knocked out. 2 prize cards to Isaiah, and a hill to climb to finish off this 6 prize comeback.
And it looks like the prizes still favor Riley so much, but you have to bear in mind that Isaiah can undo a bunch of the damage that Riley tries to come up with next turn. all of it can be flung straight back with the 3 Adrenabrain that Isaiah's built towards. It's really down for Riley to try and develop double Rolts again and see if that can get him any closer. Although Isaiah, with the access to Frillish on the next turn, he could be denying Red Candy for the remainder of the game. It really could be Riley stuck with Fluttermane to attack with and just these Monkey Dory abilities. And Isaiah may be safe enough. It feels like Riley has to try and target down just one thing as much as he can. But even then, the damage is going to be wiped over and over again here.
We've alluded to Countercatcher being the only gust option in Gardevoird.
Right.
Now Riley's on 1 prize card remaining, will never be able to use a Countercatcher. Meanwhile, Isaiah has full access to that for the rest of the game. And so that will mean anything put in play is almost locked out of being played, as both players have thinned their decks pretty well. So the options will be accessible fairly confidently, as we see the TM Devolution on Riley's side. A card we'll see in many of these Gardevoird lists throughout the weekend. But on this occasion, how are you going to get that Gardevoird in range of a TM Devolution on any turn? It might be the best way to win this, but you're going to have to relentlessly produce damage on that active Gardevoird to even think about doing it.
And just grabbing 1 Rolt seems relatively futile. You know that Isaiah could still sculpt a way to just target this down with the Monkey Dory as well. You've got to kind of have them in pairs to make any dent here. We're holding on to Rare Candy, Gardevoird EX and Super Rod for Riley, but you can't expect to keep the hand for the first hurdle. And also you can't really expect that Monkey Dories won't just target down this Pokemon. Maybe even manually attaching to Mew EX at this point is an interesting option for genome hacking. Slow building towards a different attacking threat.
So much to navigate here. Going to be a really interesting end to this first game between our NAIC finalists. Riley and Isaiah faced off just a few months ago to compete for that $25,000 at NAIC. Now they're doing it again to get 1 step closer to the World Champion final, as damage is spread around by Riley. And
it's just the Monkey Dories. It's no Hex Hurl.
Just a pass.
Yeah, you want Isaiah to be forced to generate his own damage here.
Important to note, with that Fluttermane in the active, the Gardevoird EX cannot Psychic Embrace this turn, and that will create an interesting scenario. The Countercatcher we mentioned has been used to bring up a Monkey Dory, taking away that Adrenabrain. There was an energy in the discard pile there attached, thanks to the Monkey Dory now being in the active spot. More damage added on, and you can just see Isaiah trying to close out this game now, and it's going to be a movement of that energy, that damage across with the Monkey Dories that can finish off the Rolts that just got put in play too.
Here comes Secret Box as well, the A-Spec found from Isaiah's first couple prize cards. And it's actually, I think that's a concession from Riley. Isaiah having a huge comeback here. A big TM Devolution play has brought him the win, but despite a massive prize deficit.
1 prize card remained for Riley when there was 6 still for Isaiah, and he found the route to victory. Devolution on the Gardevoird, set it up. I'm sure many of you watching at home were watching that thinking, Isaiah, you're crazy, there's no way back into this matchup. But it was that Jellicent that disrupted enough, created a big target, and allowed for the Devolution to come through. 3 Monkey Dory in play versus the 2. The battle was won, and Isaiah takes game 1 here in round 2.
Such impressive stuff. We got to see his new tech Pokemon in action as well. The Frillish and Jellicent EX both put in a decent amount of work there. The Oceanic Curse, such a powerful ability, shutting down the options from Riley. It denied his access to rods and stretches at times in that mid-game. And also Isaiah did a great job of keeping the board locked, not allowing access to Screen Time, not allowing access to any additional Monkey Dory, keeping that Mew and that Fluttermane on the board, which weren't that threatening when he was eventually able to build these Monkey Dory into the mix.
Well, Riley really has the advantage in the Monkey Dory matchup by playing 4 with the 4 Darkness Energy, but it was in that moment where board locked with just the 2 in play, it allowed Isaiah to build up to a point where he had the 3 Monkey Dory, 3 Dark Energy, and was moving the damage across, ready to finish the game. An incredible performance there, and one I'm sure many of you didn't expect to see happen in those early turns. And that is the beauty of Gardevoird. It's always been a deck that can come back from pretty much anywhere, having so many options, whether it's high damage output, disruption, or attacking things on the bench. It tends to find a way, and it's through these early turns of stabilization that we see it build to that moment, and a great first turn for Isaiah. A Dark Energy and a Monkey Dory and a Routes in play.
Yeah, simple but effective turn. Isaiah just making sure he's checking his final outs whilst passing it over to Riley, whose turn it is, and kicks off their turn with an Arven. They have access to the trademark Secret Box A-Spec. It's found in addition to one of the TM Evolution. There was also the other in hand anyway. There's already the Earthen Vessel plus Psychic, so we can start throwing away a bunch of energy early here. This is exactly what you want to see as Riley. A game down. Only 16 minutes remain on the clock here, but at least he's getting into the second game with a really solid opener.
And I think this is the key early on, is the Dark Energy. Finding that as early as possible. It's a great attacker for your TM Evolution too. Having a Monkey Dory in the active, it is 110 HP, a little bit tankier, so it can sponge any early hits with, say, something like the Budu and many other matchups, or in this occasion, the Oceanic Gleam of the Frillish. And it also allows you to start having those manual attachments be Dark Energy rather than having to use a Psych Engine. You can see exactly that there. The TM Evolution, the Artisan comes down. That Secret Box just so good at setting up the board early on.
Riley making no secret of what this box is actually trying to do. It's trying to accomplish a nice TM Evolution, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Double Curlier established, holding on to Professor's Research for next turn. Oh, it's 1 Curlier being found here. The other must be in the hand then, because it's not in the prize cards right now. It's the Mew EX and the Screen Tail in the prizes. That means the other stage 1 must be in the hand. But still a really reasonable turn.
I mean, it can't really get much better than that going second. Yep. A Dark Engine and Monkey Dory, a Curlier in play with the TM Evolution. We've got the Gardevoird in hand.
And Curlier. It would only make sense, to be honest.
That hand looks great for next turn too, so we'll see how Isaiah can stabilize. I think now we're looking at these boards and thinking, well, at any moment, Isaiah could find himself ahead in the game, even though he's behind on the prize card race, because this is a very powerful way to dismantle the board. TM Devolution, the enemy of Stage 2 decks. So much so we saw some decks playing Mist Energy purely to deny TM Devolution, and on this occasion, we will not see it in either of these decks. Doesn't really fit in the Gardevoird so well, but it will mean players have to get double Gardevoird set up as much as possible to try and avoid that scenario we saw last game where Riley had no way to get energy in play.
Isaiah has a pretty good hand after the INO. He's able to quickly artisan before anything else as well, so can get an additional basic down. Another Monkey Dory spied, but has to be happy evolving up into a Gardevoird EX in addition to the Jellicent EX in a much faster fashion than he did in that first game.
I think we saw the TM Evolution get the Jellicent in play last game. It's something that many of us forget about the Jellicent build is you have that extra TM Evolution. Typically, you only need to evolve one routes up. Sometimes you'll get two if you've got the access to both the Curlier. But having that kind of extra evolution available to you, it really allows that Jellicent to get into play consistently, where it's only a one-of in the deck and it's hard to find.
Yeah, it's still reliable just by virtue of this tool card. Riley continuing to throw away a ton of energy and exactly what you want to see. Instantly artisaning out a Monkey Dory as well. He's playing fast. He knows the assignment. With only 13 minutes remaining on the clock, he has to make these decisions quickly and start trying to take as many prize cards as possible. He doesn't have the luxury to think too much about these decisions. He just has to make any decision quickly here, because he has to start churning through prizes if he wants to get anything done and recover a tie here.
And for players in these high-pressure matches, how must they feel when they're so close to victory, one prize card away, and have to watch their opponent dismantle their board, prize by prize, like we saw with Isaiah? It must hit you hard when that moment happens.
And that's part of the mental fortitude of players like this who have got to the World Championships. Riley getting to a finals of an internationals means you have to have incredible mental fortitude to overcome bad fortune at different times and also just bad beats in other moments. There's going to be 3 energy flung onto the Flutter main now. Exhale likely just going to be, well, we're targeting down the benched Monkey Dory with one of our Adrenabrain. Are we going to be taking out the active as well with these final 3 damage counters?
Just going down to the 1 there, wanting to keep damage available and not wanting to take a knockout, interestingly.
We're seeing just how much damage we removed from the Flutter main here. There's 1 damage counter remaining on it.
Yeah, they're just making sure.
Yeah, just confirming how much they were healing. So we were putting 2 counters onto the active Monkey Dory, putting it down to the 90 for a Hex Hurl knockout. And Riley's done exactly what we've mentioned. He has to start taking these prize cards.
And it's so important when you start trying to play faster to get those games in, making sure you do things properly and don't misplay with the damage movement, the energy attachments, and all these kinds of things. So Riley's going to have a real challenge here in what can be quite a slow matchup. We saw it last game. It can really slow down, especially with Jellicent, and it can really affect the ability of your deck to perform in those speedy games as the Earthen Vessel comes through for Isaiah, and we'll be looking to get the energy in the discard pile as well as those darkness energy attached to the Monkey Dory and start moving damage across.
Yeah, can't forget that Monkey Dory upkeep every single turn. If you can get a darkness energy attached to it, your board is only ever getting stronger, especially when Riley set up 5 damage counters onto this Monkey Dory. It forces you to Adrenabrain off the Monkey Dory rather than any of your other psychic Pokemon. You really don't want that to get knocked out for free by a couple of Adrenabrain next turn from Riley.
I'm going to be getting that Arven in play. A key card came out in Obsidian Flames, and early on was very powerful thanks to some of the tools in the Sword and Shield era, like Forest Sealstone, but has increasingly got more powerful in recent times thanks to TM Evolution being such a key part of every engine.
Yeah, TM Evolution just got more and more value as we start to see Budu creep into decks in the format. And it means you still have great access to these Stage 2 Pokemon that are too good to not play in a number of these decks. The Secret Box here discarding another Psych Energy, also grabbing Isaiah, the Bravery Charm, Night Stretcher INO, and we'll just grab another Artisan out the deck for free as he does it with no real plans around it. It's already in play and it's going to stay in play all game, but you never want to draw back into this card, so you may as well fling it to the bottom with an INO here.
Yeah, the Secret Box, an A-spec that was underrated at first and has only become increasingly more popular, especially in these evolving decks, as it allows you to get those stadiums like Artisan to get more basics out, but it also allows you to discard, and so key in this deck, to discard those psychic energies. And with a bit of contingency with things like 2 TM Evolutions, you often don't feel too bad taking a Secret Box and a TM Evolution with the Arven, as it just gets you everything you need for the turn and sets you up for a board state of confidence going into the next. And that's exactly what's happened here. Thins out some bad cards, thins out some good cards, and gives you the ultimate turn going forward.
Bravery Charm onto Monkey Dory means that you can actually fling more damage off this board. It means that the Power Press is already knocking out the Flutter main, but essentially you're just evaporating more damage from this Jellicent EX, trying to allow it to stick on this board this little bit more reliably here. And Isaiah's going to level up the prize race here in this game number 2. Clock whittling down as well. It's all looking very promising for Isaiah here. Riley, though, does have access to another Dark Energy Monkey Dory. That's immediately slammed into play. Also going to have a quick scout of his own discard pile here that Isaiah was checking out. It's going to be the Psychic Embrace, Attach Retreat. Generate some damage counters for him to play with. He gets his Gardevoird EX in the mix. Just like that game number 1, Riley's now been able to establish double Gardevoird EX, even though he's under item and tool lock. Pretty impressive stuff.
Different this time, though. Those 3 Monkey Dory in play, which was significantly a factor for Isaiah having 3 himself, able to push more damage back and create a winning state. So Riley recognizing that and using it to his advantage on this occasion.
Pushing the Jellicent EX into knockout range with the Miracle Force, whilst also healing up your own attacker. Isaiah, who tried to utilize the item lock so effectively to set up a TM Devolution play on the previous game, may not have that option. And Riley is creeping closer to getting into a safe range of prizes as we get into the turns of time as well here.
And you can see Riley really trying to force the victory quickly. Last time we thought the same thing, and he got down to 1 prize card remaining, and Isaiah was able to come back. But I think the stability of Riley's board this time, much safer, thanks to those 3 Monkey Dory, keeping the Gardevoird out of range of the devolution.
That's no doubt one factor, but also keeping the board space open is also just another huge, crucial element here, is that he can burst a different attacking threat onto the board. He was kind of just left with nothing in those final few turns. Even putting down something like a Lily's Clefairy EX to play around TM Devolution at this stage feels like it could be really valuable, but always keeping that bench spot open. If he wants to get Screamtail in the mix, he can. Isaiah here using Night Stretcher to re-establish a Jellicent EX on the bench, and will once again try and disrupt Riley down. Isaiah has been capable and confident sitting with more prize cards remaining than his opponents throughout this entire set. part of the reason why is trying to throw your opponent down to these low hand sizes, with Gardevoird EX being relatively engineless.
One interesting scenario here is with those 3 Monkey Dory, Gardevoird is able to knock out the Jellicent because of the 9 damage that can be moved across with the Monkey Dory and the 190 of the Gardevoird. You actually got 10 spare damage in there to be able to knock out Jellicent, where typically 270 HP without those Monkey Dories would be tanky enough to survive a few hits. So it's really now asking a lot of questions of Isaiah, maybe having to use that Gardevoird EX to attack at some point. But getting down to 1 prize card will only increase the power of the disruption, which is going to be a key part of Isaiah's strategy here.
And if he's still thinking about devolution being the key to victory, he still doesn't have to fear the screen tail closing the game either, because if you're taking both Gardevoird out of play regardless, it doesn't matter that much. The only thing is, with triple Monkey Dory developed from your opponent, it's not easy to sculpt the devolution play. You saw it took him a few turns to make it come together in the game number 1. EX being searched for multiple here from Isaiah, pitching yet another Psychic Energy in addition to a Professor's Research.
It's the Lily's Clefairy in the end. I don't think he wants to play it, just wants to get it out the hand, might even Ultra Ball again in the future. But that 4 energy, this is one of the huge advantages of Jellicent, being able to attach more energy and retreat it off. You mentioned it earlier on. Adding damage to your Pokemon is part of your game plan as Gardevoird, and on this occasion the Monkey Dory will be looking to move damage across. Where's it coming from? Where's it going?
So many options that Isaiah has to consider. The Power Press dealing 160 now with 4 energy attached to the Jellicent EX. So having a couple of Adrenaline Brain, sending 3 on the benched Gardevoird EX as well as 3 onto the active. Pushing the Gardevoird itself down. Was it just 2 off of? Yeah, so leaving the active Gardevoird with 130 hit points remaining. And Scream Tail's coming out for Riley. Looks like he wants to try and target down a Monkey Dory if he can.
Well, we're seeing the similar scenario to before of the Gardevoirds being damaged heavily. But on this occasion, the difference is that board state. The Monkey Dory is available, and that bench space you alluded to has now been occupied by Screamtail. Will be coming in to try and take out one of those Monkey Dories, take away those options, and also leave you with 2 prize cards remaining, so that active Jellicent can be the target of your final knockout. So the Screamtail, plus some damage from a Monkey Dory maneuver, will be taking Riley down to 2 prize cards, removing a Monkey Dory, and Isaiah has an even bigger hill to climb than last time.
I have to think he's in a fantastic position. Is there just 1 Psychic Energy in the discard pile right now? Trying to think if there's ever any Panic Frillish plays at this stage. You can item lock, you can make it more difficult for a Gardevoird EX to retreat, and then you can still slow build up your own Monkey Dory army back again. Isaiah only had 1 card in hand, so he didn't have to shuffle from the Iono. We'll get 5 fresh cards here. Riley just down to 2. And still closing in on this great board position. Jellicent EX is already item locking as well, don't forget. So has to try and find a counter catcher, I think, Isaiah here. There is one in the hand.
And the TM devolution for the future. I mean, from Riley's point of view, how must he be feeling right now? Because he must be looking at the board from last game and thinking, oh, I've won this. And now he's looking at a board where he's thinking, I've won this?
Yeah.
Have I got it this time? And Isaiah is trying to find a route through. And it's just so much more challenging.
Yeah, I know. This is a much more difficult board. We were waxing lyrical about how strong it was last time from Riley, but now there's no liability anywhere. It is going to be the counter catcher into Gardevoird EX. I believe there's only 1 Psychic Energy in the discard pile. So Isaiah is hoping that the time he can buy from the... Oh my goodness, look at the Iono. We got him Psychic Energy Professor's Research. That's the best thing Riley could hope for.
Well, that's the solution Isaiah came up with, and the answer is very much in Riley's hand. And that will be settling the nervous feeling he would have been having before, as that is the card solution, the 2-card solution of a Psychic Energy and a way to discard it. And he shows the Psychic Energy, and that is going to be the handshake. 2 minutes remain in this round, not enough to conclude a game. So I think this will likely be a tie between our NAIC finalists. Riley last time wasn't able to conclude it. On this occasion, has brought it back to a tie. After a nail-biting game 1, Isaiah wins.
Fantastic scenes there from Riley. The Monkey Dory's still putting in the work. It's something we said before the game, and it ever rings true. The Adrenaline Brain just gives you so much control over the board. And in this instance, there were no liabilities for Riley. The Fluttermane was dealt with. There was no new EX in play. That gave him the space to use the Scream Tail at an opportune moment that puts him just 1 EX knockout away. With that much Monkey Dory, it's hard for Isaiah to stop it.
And with a final game potentially happening here, both players wanting the win, but the valiant battle including in a single victory for Isaiah, a single victory for Riley. There is 2 minutes remaining for a game 3, so there is potential. I think both players are shuffling up right now while we're looking through these highlights, and you can see how much better it went for Riley this time. The 3 Monkey Dory was the key. When you're playing 4 Monkey Dory and 4 Dark Energy in the mirror, you really have to lean into that Adrenaline Brain power. It does so much for your deck, and at that moment, Isaiah said, let's have a little go, see if we can get a game 3 out, and the only way this concludes is if either player struggles to get going.
See the fist bump. Isaiah going first here and is already sculpting some discards, so it's either an Ultra Ball or a Secret Box, you would imagine. Getting into game number 3 here. It is going to be an Ultra Ball, discarding a Professor's Research in addition to Super Rod. No time for that. Let's try and develop a Volts and try and get a rare Candy Gardevoird. I feel like that's one of the only ways you can try and close this game. Turn attachment to finish in the pass. Action over to Riley. Does have access to a Monkey Dory, Energy to Fluttermane. It's going to be a fresh 6 from Ino here. So at least a couple basic Pokemon down. We can develop a few more. It's looking like we're edging towards a tie here.
Yeah, I think if either player is able to bench multiple Pokemon at this stage, it would just be too much to ask, as when the game reaches time, you can see down there ticking away. At that moment, the player whose turn it is will finish, and there will be 3 turns following it to see if either player can conclude a victory. And this is the final tournament where this will be the rules. It will be changing in the future, but an opportunity for these players to squeak out a final game potentially, as they both sort of show that they have the ability to get more Pokemon out. Will that mean they agree that this is going to be a tie? I think at this point it likely is.
Yeah.
And there we go. Our 2 players on our round 2 feature match tying with Gardevoird. A valiant comeback from Isaiah in game 1, followed by a stabilization from Riley, leading to a tie.
really intricate gameplay there from two different builds of Gardevoird. Isaiah bringing the new era of Jellicent and Frillish, whereas Riley sticking with the quad Monkey Dory, quad Darkness Energy. And we saw the benefits of both during the set, which is so exciting to see here. And we were both scratching our heads on certain terms of where was the Adrenaline Brain damage going to go, how can you secure a board state as well as possible. Riley with great acknowledgement, even though he lost the game number 1, taking a turn to TM evolution up to multiple stage 2s, still trying to establish as many Monkey Dory as possible to play around a devolution. Both players were having that cat and